Welcome to Nickel City Mafia, where we talk all things Buffalo and then some. Today, we're going to get into this year's Buffalo Bills offensive line and try to answer the question, is this the best Bills offensive line in the past decade? We've certainly had some good ones in the past, and we'll get into that shortly. If you're new to the channel, please give us a like, comment, and most importantly, drop a nickel on that subscribe button for us. We greatly appreciate that. Joining me today is probably the most excited person you'll ever meet when it comes to talking about the offensive line, and that's my co-host Jake Podger. Jake, how you doing, man?
Like a kid in a candy store, Mike. This is I love talking hogs up front football. I mean, everyone hates the run game. Everyone hates talking about physical football. Well, I'm here to talk about that all day, baby. I'm ready to go. Man, I am so excited.
I
So
mean,
excited
it's
to rehash too on some older
yeah,
players.
yeah.
Like my
We're good.
ideal day, Mike, is sitting around on a couch, maybe getting a 30 rack of beers and just going back and forth with my buddies, just talking football, old players, and just rehashing good old memories. I mean, maybe not so great memories for Bills history, but I just love naming random old players. So this is going to be a nice blast from the past for me.
This is going to be fun. Yeah, I mean, everyone loves talking about those skilled positions, that defense. Everyone kind of doesn't, it's not the sexiest thing to talk about the O linemen, but you know what? Those are the guys that make it all happen, right? That
That's right.
offense doesn't move without having a good offensive line, and we saw some struggles last year. And yes, so these guys are the ones making it happen. And let's get into it. I mean, we're not going to keep the fans waiting. We're going to go back in time. We're going to take you on a time machine. We're going to go back to. We're going to start in 2012, Jake. So let's
Heck
bring
yeah.
that up real quick. So let me throw this over the wall to you and talk about this 2012 O line. And now, mind you, everyone, we're not going 10 years. We're not going year by year. These are years that Jake and I
The
felt
more notable line.
the
The
more
more notable
notable
Bills
offensive
lines.
lines. Yep, in
Yes.
the past 10 years. So let's roll with it, Jake. 2012, get us started.
Yeah, so I picked this year out specifically, and I think you look at the last decade, the Bills' offensive line has been it's been a very big roller coaster, I think. But this 2012 offensive line, pretty solid. The right side has always been a little suspect, I feel like, for the Bills, but we've always had a mammoth right tackle. I was just kind of looking back at our history and stuff. I mean, going back to like the Mike Williams days when we drafted him fourth overall in 2001 or 2002. He was 6'7", 370. He was our right tackle. Then you got Langston Walker. He was 6'8". Eric Piers, another guy. Happy birthday, by the way. It's his 40th birthday today, Mike.
Nice.
6'8" as well. Now you got Spencer Brown, 6'9". I mean, we just have some absolute mammoths. Brad Butler, he was another one. He kicked inside to right guard, but 6'8" as well. I mean, shoot, we had some mammoth right tackles back in the day. But so Eric Piers was our right tackle this year. Then we got Cordy Glenn. He was a rookie this year. He was a second-round pick. Had a pretty solid career as a Bill, and
Sure did.
actually played pretty decent his rookie year. And you know what I loved about him, Mike? His roster picture, wearing glasses. You don't see that too often. Then you got Andy Levitre. Yeah, looking very looking like an intellectual. A lot of people say the Hogs up front, they're not the smartest guys in the world. Well, yeah, actually, these guys, this pair, pretty smart dudes across the board. Shout out to Sean. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for watching us while you work there. Andy
Yes.
Levitre, very underrated lineman for us. He was our left guard this year. Ended up going to the Titans a couple of years after playing with the Bills, but he was a very solid player in the league for a while. So, yeah, I mean, that was another nice piece. You have Eric Wood, just sort of getting into his prime at this point. This is, I think, one of his first years playing center for us because he originally came in as a guard, and then they switched him to center. Then Craig Urbick and Eric Piers on the right side. But some things that were pretty notable about this year, I think we started the 2012 season, or maybe it was 2011. We started 5-2. Yeah, I think this year we ended up going like 7-9 or 4-12 or something like that. But yeah, those were some dark days for sure. But this offensive line was solid. CJ Spiller was the running back. He averaged 6 yards a carry, had his best season as a pro, 1,200 yards rushing. Really good zone running scheme that we had going. We had Fitzy at quarterback. We had Stevie Johnson. But I think we did really get it done up front. And also we had Fred Jackson as a running back. Shout out to Fred Jackson. I'm wearing his jersey right now. The threads are screaming a little bit, Mike. This is an older jersey, but, I'm about 30 pounds heavier now wearing this. But felt like I had to bring it out of retirement for this show. So, no, very solid line in 2012. Man, just love rehashing these names. But I think this is definitely in the past decade, probably in the top 3 or 4 best lines that we've had. So you look at this team. I mean, really, these guys are young at this point, but so much potential in a lot of these guys, and they were just starting to kind of get it going there. And like I said, CJ Spiller, 1,200 yards and 6 yards a carry. I mean, just a phenomenal season.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's good to see out there, Sean. I know Sean would have loved. I was trying to get him connected with us for the O line because he loves talking.
Oh, he loves talking the Hogs too, just like me. Yep.
He certainly does, but schedules just couldn't meet up. But so glad to see him out there. So as far as 2012 goes, Jake, for every year that we talk about, I use a tool, as you know, PFF, right? Pro Football Focus, and some people hate it, some people love it, but it's a tool, and I'm going to use this tool to kind of give us grades for. I think we're going to talk about 4 or 5 different years. But you are absolutely right. As far as an average overall grade for this offensive line, this line came in second.
Did they really? Wow. I honestly, so I haven't looked at any PFF stuff. I was just kind of going off of what I thought was the best. And
exactly.
That's cool. Very
so
interesting.
Good call there. They averaged a 69.46 offensive grade from PFF. Another thing this year, maybe you remember, maybe you don't. I couldn't find it. I know Eric Pierce, he only played the first 7 games of this season. Got injured, and we probably were having multiple guys fill that role. Do you kind of remember at all who might have filled in for him?
I'm trying to think. 2012. Wow, this is a while back here.
That's all right.
I can't think off the top of my head. This is bad. I should probably do some push-ups right now, Mike, because I'm pretty good at this usually. But no, yeah, I actually, it's not ringing a bell right now.
All right, yeah, I was
which is
surprised.
Not good.
So we only have a small sampling, a little less than half a season for Eric Pierce, but yeah, they graded second overall PFF. So good stuff. Let's move on to the next season that we felt the O-line was very strong, and there's definitely some stats to back it. So let's move on here. Jump in that time machine. Let's move forward to 2015.
Yeah.
Talk to me, Jake.
So Cordy Glenn becoming an established pro at this point. He was a Pro Bowl alternate a few of those years. Richie Incognito, fantastic signing. There was a little bit of like drama there, right? So I don't know if you guys remember back when he was in Miami, he had the whole bullying scandal with Jonathan Martin. That whole thing kind of blew up, and then he was known as a dirty player, but he was a Pro Bowl player as well. Yep. So then the Bills go out and sign him, and I believe this is Rex's first year. So Rex Ryan comes in. He wants to establish kind of a new attitude for the team. We end up getting Shady McCoy. We get Richie Incognito. And Shady McCoy has a Pro Bowl year. I think he only had like 800-something yards, but he was also injured, only played 10 games. But this line up front, I mean, fantastic. John Miller's a rookie. Chantrell Henderson's on the right side. Again, the right side a little suspect. But John Miller actually looked like he was going to develop into a pretty good pro and then sort of just fizzled out. But you look at the left side here, I mean, pretty solid. And then you have Eric Wood in the middle. Really nice team there. Yeah, I mean, statistically, again, ground and pound, baby. So it was a really nice year for us. And Richie Incognito was a Pro Bowler, so pretty solid.
Yeah, they were the number 1 Russian team in 2015.
Yep.
Believe it or not.
Yep. And we had Tyrod at quarterback, right?
We did. Yep. And Tyrod himself ran for 568 yards.
I was going to say, yeah.
McCoy, I actually have him playing 12 games that year, but it was 895 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. And then we had Carlos Williams, who had a pretty good season that year. If you remember him, he ran for 517 yards. And Mike Gillislee. Remember him?
Man, did he have 8 touchdowns? Or was that 2016?
I don't have his touchdowns recorded here, but he seemed to be solid for us in 2015 and 2016.
Man.
So the number 1 rushing team says a lot. And even though that right side struggled, John Miller and Chantrell Henderson, again, using PFF as a tool, they kind of scored low. They had Miller, they gave him a 48 offensive grade, and Chantrell Henderson, 51. So believe it or not, they came in with an average PFF score grade of 64.98, which is, you'll see how that pans out going forward. So still 2012, according to PFF, our second best. Right now it's the top one.
Eric Wood was also a Pro Bowler that year. So we
Okay.
had 2 Pro Bowlers on that O-line.
All right, good stuff. So let's move forward again, jump in that time machine and go just one year in the
1 year.
future. 2016.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is actually so Shady's second year was better than his first year. He kind of went off. I think he had like 13 touchdowns or something like that. Really nice year. We had no gloves, Nick No Gloves O'Leary. Shout out to him. Love that the guy didn't wear gloves. But going back to the O-line, you kind of look at it pretty similar to the previous year. Only difference is Jordan Mills playing right tackle. Again, the right side a little suspect. Jordan Mills couldn't stay away from the holding penalties and offside calls or false start calls. So a lot of penalties on that side of the ball. Then you have, basically the same across the board otherwise. But again, Cordy Glenn, Richie Incognito, Eric Wood, I mean, just some absolute studs that year. So, again, the stats kind of back it up, but this is an excellent offensive line. We really were starting to establish something at this point. And it's sad that Eric Wood's career ended so early. I don't know if you caught, Mike, I was sort of talking to you about this a little bit. He was on Bussin' with the Boys, their podcast. He talked about his career-ending injury, and he didn't even really know about it. The guy could have been fully paralyzed. He had like this, he was talking, it was so high up, like on his spinal cord. It was, I forget what he said exactly, but pretty much he thought he had a stinger, and he was just going to keep playing through it. But then he got some advice from a doctor saying, if you take one more hit, you might go like fully paralyzed. So, they were actually amazed that he didn't already kind of lose feeling in his legs. But they said if he would have maybe taken even one more hit or something, he could have been like fully like paralyzed his whole entire body. So it's crazy. Scary. What a crazy story. And luckily, he caught it in time and unfortunately had to retire. And it's crazy because he was going to be Josh Allen's center. He was saying he was going to mentor Josh and be his center pretty much. He had just signed an extension in 2017. And then the news came out saying, hey, basically the doctor telling him that you can't play football anymore, and then he had to retire, and the Bills released his rights and stuff like that. And pretty sad, but I'm glad, he's still calling Bills games. Actually, he's doing it on WGR with John Murphy. So that's cool. Stays around the Buffalo area. Was talking about our offensive line this upcoming year, but shout out to Eric Wood. I mean, that guy is unbelievable. Just a really, I think one of the best centers in Bills history. I mean, shout out to a couple other guys. Ken Hall, my dad mentioned on there.
Yeah.
But
your dad's going old school there.
Way back. Joe DeLamielleure, Reggie McKenzie. Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
but this was an excellent offensive line. I mean, again, you have the statistics to back it up. We were such a good running team. I don't know what happened. We don't really have like that premier running back. This is kind of the first time in a while that we don't have like that premier back that rushes for 1,000 yards. The last guy to do it was Shady.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so you nailed it. I mean, this was, again, back-to-back years where we're the number one Russian team. And Shady was, he played 15 games, had 1,267 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns, like you called it. The other good thing about Shady is he had 50 receptions, Jay.
Yeah.
50 receptions, 356 yards and a touchdown. And there was Gillisley again with 577 rushing yards. And you nailed it. This, according to PFF, is the number one offensive line that we're going to talk about right here.
Yeah.
So they've set the bar. So our 2022 line has to be able to meet this line right here or beat this line if they're going to be the best in the past decade.
I like it.
So great stuff. All right, let's jump ahead to 2019. Talk to me, Jay.
Yeah, 2019. So this is kind of like Josh Allen's first year that he came out and was the full-time starter, ends up taking us to the playoffs. We lose to the Texans in the wild card round in an absolute heartbreaker. But you look at the line across the board, a lot of guys that are very young into their career here, but guys that really showed out that year. Cody Ford at right tackle, which is hilarious because now you can't even envision this guy being on the team. But he was a rookie this year starting at right tackle. He had John Feliciano in his first year, really showed out. He came from Oakland over to us and absolutely killed it. I mean, that guy's a throwback player. I love what he does. He brings an attitude to the line. Wish him all the luck in New York. But, man, he was excellent this year. And then he had Mitch Morrison his first year with us, paid him a big amount of money to play for us. And I think he's starting to pan out quite a bit, which is great. And Quentin Spain came from Tennessee over to us. And he had kind of a bad falling out with us because I think it was like midway through the year that we ended up cutting him the following season. And he had some words about it pretty much, saying that it was unfair. He was kind of like blindsided and the Bills just let him go. End up signing with Cincinnati. But he was pretty solid for us when he came in and played. And then sort of his play kind of dropped a little bit the following season. But this year in particular actually played pretty well. And then you have Deion Dawkins at left tackle, who actually came in as a guard. He's kind of an undersized left tackle. But Deion, man, I'll tell you what. Again, another good story about him on that podcast. Eric Wood was talking about him, saying that this guy comes in, kind of looking like an Odell Beckham type of player. And he's like, oh, this guy, he's going to be like a drama queen, like a me guy. Total opposite. And the guy just loves ball. And on top of that, he's a physical football player. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand how physical Deion Dawkins really is. I mean, this guy throws people around. So this is kind of his first year sort of, being that left tackle. And it was pretty interesting to see because he started as a guard and they had to kick him out due to some injuries and actually played pretty well. And obviously has panned out pretty well for us.
Yeah, from a PFS standpoint, Deion Dawkins, one of the most consistent left tackles there is. Consistently grades out over 75, and that's just been phenomenal. So it's funny. I see Sean out there, and he's saying if they let Ford develop, who knows? And I know Sean, based on last year and some of the shows we did, or some of the shows I watched of his, he's a fan of Ford. And I was going to ask him if he's still a fan of Ford because he might be the only one in Western New York who is a fan of Ford. But he felt that Cody Ford, he was drafted as a right tackle. And, we tried him out. I think we started last year with him at guard. But
right guard.
His PFF certainly doesn't, again, take that with a grain of salt. And then what we've seen with our own eyes. But I wish Sean was able to jump on and give his take on why he thinks Cody Ford is still worth keeping around and giving him a chance. So interesting stuff there.
It's never a good sign when your tackle kicks inside. That typically means that he lacks some athleticism or, there could be multiple reasons. But a lot of times when you have a guy that's supposed to be this really good tackle and he kicks inside, it means typically that he's just not athletic enough to play outside like that. So
they did that. They did that with someone else this year, right? That was Darrell Williams.
Sure did. Yeah. Well, and I think that was for other reasons. He's getting a little bit older. The guy, he's not, and it's crazy because the drop off in 1 year, because I think he actually played extremely well in 2020.
Yeah.
But then the 2021 season, play really took a hit. So that was kind of interesting too, to see just even in a year how much he lost within that year. So, and that could be for one reason or the other. Maybe he was playing with an injury that we didn't know about, but he seemed to be getting beat quite a bit on the outside.
Yeah, and I think his salary, I want to say it was huge. So it was a big
it was like
savings.
1 year, $8 million or something like that. It was high, $9
and that was
maybe.
Based on a tackle. You move the guy into inside to the guard, and they're probably like it's just not worth that $8 million or whatever it was. I almost feel like it was $10 million, but I'm off there slightly by maybe $1 million or $2 million. But anyhow, so yes, Cody Ford though doesn't have that type of contract. And he's definitely on the team still this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's
we'll
wild.
See. Sean says he is still a fan. Thank you for answering that question. And he thinks we'll cut him this year, unfortunately. Well, if he doesn't show up in camp and just make some impress the heck out of some people, I don't know, Sean. I have to agree with you. What do you think, Jake?
I'll be very shocked if he's still on the team. I think he's going to be one of those camp body guys. He's going to compete. And his salary isn't crazy. So maybe there is a chance that we do keep him if he plays well enough in the preseason. But I don't know if it's going to happen, Mike. I don't know. And I know we brought in some undrafted guys as well to sort of help bolster the offensive line, give a little more depth and whatnot. We got David Quessenberry as well over at tackle, and then a couple other guys filling in at guard. We got Greg Mance we signed from the Dolphins too. So there's a lot of guys I think that are going to compete and probably overtake his role.
Okay. All right, let's move forward. Jump in that time machine. Let's jump ahead a couple years to last year, 2021. Yeah. Go ahead and talk about it, Jake.
Yeah. Then you look at 2021. So very tough start to the year, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And people were calling for everyone's heads, basically saying to rearrange the entire offensive line. Like, this is not it. And it's funny. You're looking at this line. This is not even close to the same offensive line that it was at the beginning of the year. You had Deion Dawkins at left tackle. Left guard, you had John Feliciano. Center, you had Mitch Morse. Right guard, you had Cody Ford. And then right tackle, you had Daryl Williams.
Yep.
But going off of what we thought was the best offensive line, the best arrangement of linemen, and sort of how they finished the year off, this was it right here. And they started really clicking. And you even saw it, especially in that Patriots game, in the first wild card playoff game. I mean, it was like the perfect game across the board. Everyone talks about Josh Allen and how perfect he played. Well, give some love to the offensive line because Devin Singletary, I don't know what the hell happened, but he looked like a superstar, and it's because of these guys up front. I mean, Devin was running hard, don't get me wrong, but man, I mean, these guys made it look easy for him. So, I mean, gaping holes. You could drive a freaking Mack truck through those holes. So, Mitch Morse getting to the second level. This guy's one of the best centers in the league, and no one's talking about that. He's finally really showing the worth that we paid him with his big contract. What was it, 4 years, $40 million? So yeah, just fantastic. And then we re-up Ryan Bates. Thank God. I'm so happy about that, Mike, because this guy, he has done so well. He brings so much versatility. He's played every position on the offensive line, and he's a great fit at left guard for us. And then obviously you got Daryl Williams at right guard and then Spencer Brown at right tackle. And I think Spencer Brown's, he's still a project in the making, but man, he's going to be something special. Another mammoth at the right tackle position too. I don't know why, but the Bills always seem to draft guys that are 6'8" and above, or they end up signing a guy that's 6'8" or above for that right tackle position, which I absolutely love. It's great.
Yeah, so you're right. This was a roller coaster last year. And if you look at just stat wise, if you were not a Bills fan and watching every game last year and you looked at stats, we were sixth in rushing yards, believe it or not. A lot of that is because of Mr. Josh Allen running for 763 yards
it's wild.
on his own, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. We were ninth in passing yards, and we were second in sacks given up, least amount of sacks given up, which was 27. So that's insane. It makes Josh Allen has a way of making an offensive line look better. Because if you're looking at the numbers and you're looking on the outside in, you're saying, damn, this was a pretty good offensive line. Heck, Bates didn't even get a start until week 16.
Right?
He was, I mean, we've had him now. Let me ask you here. I know you like trivia. Where did Bates come from?
New England.
Where did we get him?
Or no, Chicago. Chicago, I'm sorry.
No.
Wait a minute. Really? Wow,
Yes.
Mike, you got me stumped here. That's my guy too. I'm a Ryan Bates guy, and I don't even know where he came from.
Undrafted free agent signed in 2019 by the Eagles.
He was with the Eagles?
Traded to the Bills for in that same year. Another good
Who am I
trivia question
thinking
for you.
of?
This is going to stump you here. Traded for linebacker Eli Harold.
Oh, wow.
All right,
Eli
so-
Harold out of Virginia. Wow.
That's if my data is correct. You never know. I'm a little
No,
older,
no,
Jay. Maybe I
that
read
is-
something wrong,
listen,
but that's what I
two
got.
things today. I didn't know the right tackle that filled in for Eric Pierce. Didn't know how we even acquired Ryan
That's,
Bates. The guy
we
that
got-
I'm putting my neck out for every freaking week.
We got 20 push-ups so far that you're going to have to do after
20
after
push-ups.
the
I
show.
need it too.
Yeah, so it's crazy that Bates, this was his first year starting. I mean, and he didn't get that start until week 16, like I said. And then I think we had him at left guard, and then we moved him to right guard for the playoffs. I don't know, but he did bounce between left guard and right guard. Anyhow, it was a crazy year. So looking at puts the stats aside, this line struggled to start the year, right? They struggled all year, and I don't think they really got it together until around week 15 or 16 when they put Bates in there, and then we actually, then they went on and just, finished the year very, very strong. Let's see here. Guys like Feliciano, they were let go in the offseason.
Yeah.
Guys like Daryl Williams, let go in the offseason. So those two are no longer here, but we do have Spencer Brown coming back. We have Mitch Morse, the drummer of the band there at center, and Deion Dawkins, one of the most consistent tackles. So a good foundation there, although still, if we're going to be the best offensive line in the past decade, some serious question marks around Spencer Brown and Bates, right?
Right.
I mean, yes, Bates looked fantastic. And I think was the reason why Bates wasn't playing much, correct me if I'm wrong, because he was really there to back up Morse.
Pretty much, yeah, because he was basically that's what he was. Yeah, he was the fill-in center, and I think they finally were like, screw it, we're just going to play him at guard, and if he gets injured, then we'll deal with that, But
Yeah.
He just offers too much value playing that position. I think he did an excellent job, and obviously he's going to be a
Fantastic.
starter this year. Yeah, so
So he was a restricted free agent who we thought we were going to lose, right? I think was
it
it
was
maybe
Chicago that
maybe that's
that
what's
tried to
getting you
get into the sweepstakes.
that's what's
Yeah,
getting you confused.
yeah,
Yeah, it was the Bears who actually made him a pretty good offer, and you and I were texting, and you were worried. You're like, I don't think
I
we're going to
was.
match it,
Yeah,
and the Bills stepped up and matched it. So fantastic. And I do want to know and ask you a question. Everything about the OTAs and the camp that they had recently, Spencer Brown's not playing. Apparently, he had some type of procedure, which
yeah.
concerns me. They're being very, very quiet about it. Have you heard anything, Jake? Any of your inside sources over
No,
there?
no, not really. I haven't heard a whole lot about that. I think he's going to be okay. I know they try to keep it under wraps. Obviously, they don't want people panicking as we are right now.
Yeah,
So there's a reason, obviously, that they don't want to be putting that out to the public. But no, I don't think it's anything too major. But yeah, I'm not too sure on the situation with that, to be honest.
yeah. I mean, tell me what's happening, and I won't be so worried, right? But when you leave
Yeah,
me in the dark, and
when you aren't
my
saying
mind
stuff, it's the
my mind goes crazy and starts thinking worst case scenarios. But
right. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, everyone expects him to be back and continue to have improve upon that rookie season because he really shined in the running game,
hmm
struggled in the passing game, and just needs to keep improving that. So let's move forward, jump in that time machine, and
yeah.
now let's try to predict the starting lineup for 2022. And then we're going to have to really convince me, Jake, how this line is going to be better than the one that I talked about in 2016. So
Yeah,
let's move forward here. Let's take a look at them. There you go, Sean, to answer your question.
I
Here's who we're
love it.
thinking will be starting. And go ahead, Jake. I'll let
That's
you
such
start
a
there.
beautiful, clean lineup, Mike. First
It
off,
looks
let me
good.
just say it looks so good on paper right now. I am ecstatic just looking at this. So first off, we may have just signed the best run blocking guard in football in Roger Saffold. So you're talking about Spencer Brown's run blocking ability. Roger Saffold and actually Taylor Lewan echoed this as well on that podcast I was talking about too. He said himself, this guy is probably the best run blocking guard in football. And I think if there's any place to maybe improve on this offense to even make us more of a threat, might be the run game, right, Mike? I mean, running
Yeah.
inside the tackles, I know that's
Yes.
not really our game, but we try to be physical. And when we got physical with teams, we actually did pretty damn well. And this guy, he's a physical grinder, throwback type of player. And if there's a guy to replace John Feliciano, this is the guy to do it. And it's a major upgrade, in my opinion. A guy that's shown some durability throughout his years, was an all-pro and a Pro Bowler this past year, blocked for Derrick Henry, blocked for Todd Gurley. I mean, it's a great, great move by the Bills. I'm so excited about that. I think an under the radar move. Maybe, everyone's talking Von Miller. Roger Saffold. I mean, a lot of people don't sleep on this young man. He's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, and I think he's going to be a huge upgrade at that left guard position for us. Kick Ryan Bates over to right. We'll be good to go up front. I feel great about this line, Mike. Then you got Deion Dawkins coming off another Pro Bowl year, very consistent.
Yeah.
Has played fantastic. I know a lot of people have gotten on him too in the past, but you got to remember, first off, he's undersized. He's only 6'3", 6'4" on a good day. And what he's been able to do, transitioning from guard to left tackle, which is arguably your most athletic player on the offensive line, the stuff that he's been able to do is so impressive to me. Again, comes into the league, people are thinking, oh, he's going to maybe play guard. He's not big enough to play tackle. He's proved all the doubters wrong, and he's just done it on a consistent day-by-day basis. Throws guys around. He's a physical guy up front, too. And you know what the best part is, talking about physicality? We got Aaron Cromer now as our offensive line coach. He actually was with Buffalo a long time ago, and he comes back to us. And that guy's going to bring some attitude. I mean, and eat nails, tough as nails, like grinder type attitude. He's going to get these guys motivated, and he's one of the best offensive line coaches in football. Bill Callahan was one of his mentors. Bill Callahan's a legendary offensive line coach. Actually coached the Raiders back in 2002 when they went to the Super Bowl. Was a Nebraska coach as well, but really well known for his offensive line coaching skills. And this guy, Aaron Cromer, learned under him. So Howard Mudd too, I think he learned under, which another legendary guy. So he's got the the lineage. He understands the game. He's going to come in and make sure these guys are tough up front. I think our run game, you're going to see a lot of improvement this year, Mike. And Josh Allen's going to be well protected as well. And just going back, you're looking at the interior here, Roger Saffold, I just talked about him, Mitch Morse and Ryan Bates. This is probably the strongest right side we've had in years. Looking at it, I've always said the right side's been kind of suspect for us, but I actually feel pretty good about this right side of our offensive line. So really excited for this year. I think this could be the best offensive line in the last decade.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Dawkins, as you mentioned, last year he got off to a little bit of a slow start. I think he had COVID coming into the season, and it really took him a while. But again, all pro year last year, came on strong as he got healthier.
It took him a while to get his wind back, actually.
It really did. Saffold, as you talked about, I mean, if you want to be able to run the ball better, why not go after one of the best guards that helped the top running team, one of the top running games with Tennessee? Why not go after that person? And we got him. Great. Morse, solid as ever. The right side, you actually mentioned it. In past years, this has always been the side that has struggled the most. To me, still a lot of question marks here. Jake, in order for them to surpass that 2016 team as far as from a PFF standpoint, and again, I think just overall, that's the side. Spencer Brown needs to take it to the next level. Spencer Brown was, let me just give you some information here. He was a grade of 62.1 last year from PFF, and Bates was 64.3, but that's a small sample size. Right. So those two guys, Jake, in order for us to surpass, and I'm going to assume that Dawkins stays consistent where he is. He gets a grade of 75 or more per year. Saffold was right around 70. I'm going to assume he stays right there. Mitch, I took his last 3 years average, and I'm going to assume he gets around a 65 PFF grade. Believe it or not, that's where he's been, 65 or a little bit lower. These two guys need to get close to 70, each of them, Jake, in order from a PFF standpoint. Now, if we win a Super Bowl on paper, exactly. And it would be great. So then my next question to you is, will we have a 1,000-yard rusher this year behind this line?
I'm going to say no, but not for a bad reason. I think we have so much versatility and so many guys that we can kind of rotate. It's almost going to be, I think it's going to be similar to how we ran our defensive line last year, where we're just going to be rotating guys in. Because now, I mean, this is something we're sort of previewing. We will be talking about this in another show, our running backs. But we have like 3 guys, really 4, if you include Zach Moss. I don't know what's going on with him. He's sort of in limbo. And it's funny, they have him listed as like the 4th back on our roster right now. We have 3 guys that are ahead of him right now. And they have Devin Singletary technically as the starter, I believe. James Cook, and then Duke Johnson, and then Zach Moss, who's just kind of sitting out there. And then there's another guy, undrafted, Raheem Blackshear. We'll talk more about that, though. I don't think we're going to have 1,000-yard rusher just because we're going to be rotating those guys in so often. And I think we're going to include a lot of those guys in the passing game as well. So I feel like we're going to have a guy maybe in that 700 range, but we're going to have multiple guys that are like that 400 to 500, 600 range, which could – eventually, that'll all add up, obviously, with our running stats. And Josh Allen, I'm sure he'll have another 500-yard rushing season himself. Hopefully, he doesn't have to run a ton, but sometimes, his legs are pretty dangerous. So why not? So I do think we're going to actually finish in the top rushing teams across the league. I do think we're going to be like a top 5 team in that category. But will we have 1,000-yard rusher? Probably not, just because we have so much depth there.
All right. I mean, I agree with you there, and I certainly hope, though, that, based on what we're talking here, or how we're talking, if we needed to run the ball, and there were certainly some games last year where we needed to run the ball, I'm hoping this line gives us that ability, and I think they do. I think they do on paper, and what we can, the big question mark is Bates. We're talking about a guy, we're already elevating him to like this all-star, but he only started for the first time in Week 16 last year, but he looked fantastic in Week 16 and through the playoffs. Spencer Brown showed brilliance last year, but he also showed that he was a rookie as well, so he needs to take that. So we'll see. Let's see, what's Sean saying out there? He says we'll probably only suit up 3 backs. We're going to get into running backs. Sean, if you're at work and you want some more entertainment, Jake and I are going back-to-back shows. So we're
Oh
going to be
yeah,
talking
baby.
about the running backs
So
shortly
excited.
after we end this show. We're going to go live again shortly after. So stick around for that. He's already getting into the details of the running backs. I
I
love
love
it.
it. You
I
know, and
love
it's
it.
it's interesting that he does say that, and I wanna table that because he's
Yeah.
talking about only suiting up three backs because Taiwan Jones is kind of a unique player. So we'll talk about that more in the running back show.
Yep. And let's table this one as well. Moss may
Yes.
be gone. So
Yes.
interesting. We'll
Hmm.
table that. All right. So Jake, based on the coaching changes that you're saying, the
Yeah.
guy's going to elevate them again. Are they the best? Well, yet to be seen, but we believe they can be. We certainly believe
Absolutely.
we can be. And for me, yes, we may not have 1,000-yard rusher, but if I see Josh Allen's numbers go up, if I see a slight increase in the rushing numbers, then I know this line is greatly improved from last
And you
year.
know what? Let's not just talk about the running game, Mike. It's a passing league, right?
Yep.
These guys can pass block too. So
Oh yeah,
I
that's what I
feel
was
good
saying.
about that. I feel good
Yeah,
about this barrier we're creating for Josh. It's going to give him more time, and you give Josh Allen more time, the more dangerous he becomes. So
that's what I was saying. So
it's
if
been
I
great.
see Josh's numbers, as I said, if I see his numbers go up, that O line's doing its job.
Oh yeah,
I would love to see Josh's rushing numbers come down a little bit, only because I'd love to see a running back take more of that pounding. But
certainly.
hey, Josh is going to be Josh and do what he needs to do. All right, let's look at a little bit of the depth here, and then we'll end this thing. Let's look at who we got backing up. So we got your guy Tommy Doyle. You love him. You talk about him all the time.
I do.
And there's more. There's some other added depth, and maybe you want to mention some names. But these are the guys that are kind of projected to be those second tier guys. But let me let you go through that.
Well, the good thing is all of these guys. Well, I guess outside of Tommy Doyle, but Tommy Doyle did catch a touchdown in the playoffs. Shout out to him again. Love him to death. Went to Miami, Ohio. He's a MAC guy. Always going to be rooting for him. But then you look at Greg Van Roten, a guy that we signed from New York, who's going to definitely add some depth.
Yeah,
Almost like a similar situation, I think, to Ryan Bates, where we can even rotate him in if we need to. So very exciting that we signed a guy like that. Actually, Sean, you texted me, you hit me up on Instagram about that, and actually Sean broke the news to me before I even knew that we signed
nice,
Greg Van
nice,
Roten.
Sean.
So that was pretty cool. So yeah, we were going back and forth about that. I like the signing. I think it's a great move. He's been pretty good. Played with Carolina, played with the Jets. Believe he went to. He's an Ivy League kid too. He went to Penn, so that's kind of fun. Love having the small school guys in the line like that. So yeah, no, good move there. Greg Mance, I talked about him a little bit. Probably going to back up at center. Another guy that has some experience getting in the game, starting a little bit. Actually, in that picture, I believe that's Tua taking the snap from him, or maybe it's Jacoby. I don't know, one of the two. But nice guy that can play both center and guard. So it's a nice versatility thing. I think that's the biggest thing the Bills have preached this entire offseason is versatility. So he can play center or guard. And then Cody Ford, we'll see if he stays with the team. But yeah, he's still here. Obviously, he has experience starting as well. If we need to put him in, you can kind of feel comfortable in the sense that he has some experience. And then David Quessenberry, underrated guy. I love this move. It was kind of a late signing for the Bills in the offseason. He's been with Tennessee the last few years. I know Taylor Lewan's talked him up a little bit. I keep going back to the Taylor Lewan thing, but I just watched that O-line podcast. If you guys haven't seen that, it's incredible with Eric Wood and Taylor Lewan and Will Compton, the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. Those guys are just – there's nothing better than two offensive linemen talking ball. I love it, Mike. But he's talked about Quessenberry in the past. I like the move for us. Gives us a nice big body over there, good pass blocker, good run blocker, just a solid player. So the depth looks good. I think this is actually the most depth that we've had in recent memory. So again, just kind of adding fuel to the fire right now.
Yeah, so I love Greg the ad of Greg Van Roten.
And Roten, yeah.
He had a strong year for the Jets last year. PFF's grade of 68.
That's pretty
But
good.
very good against a team that really struggled last year, or on a team that struggled last year. Quessenberry, I love this story, Jake. I love this story. He is a cancer
I was
survivor.
just going to say, yeah.
Cancer
Yeah.
survivor. He was drafted in 2013 by the Texans. He was a sixth round. He
Yep.
missed his first year with a foot injury, missed the next 3 years because he had an aggressive cancer. He didn't see the field in the first 4 years, and he's been battling, getting healthy again, finally, last year in 2021, he was the starter at right tackle for the Titans, and his PFF grade, Jake, was an 80.6.
Whew, that's
So I'm
fantastic.
not sure what the deal was, why they let him go. Maybe I don't know. Salary cap issues, I have no clue. But again, the Titans offensive linemen were fantastic last year.
Yeah,
They've
yeah,
been a good line for years, and to bring him over and have that at behind Spencer, because again, there's still questions on Spencer Brown, but to have this as a guy that can come in, and we know injuries are going to happen, right? There's always someone who gets dinged up. Hopefully, it's not long term, but these guys are going to see the field. They're going to see the
yeah.
field, and they're going to need to perform. And I just love that story with Questenberry.
That's
So
awesome. That is
let's go,
awesome.
David. Yeah, he says. Sean says I see a lot of heavy packages next season.
Oh heck yeah. That's you know what? I think if Aaron Cromer has any say, you're going to see a ton of that this next year. That guy loves to be physical up front and run the football. And I know people out there, especially my brother-in-law, if he's listening, probably not going to like hearing that. No one likes to watch a team run the football, but when you do it effectively, it's an art and it's a great thing to watch. And I'll tell you what, why wouldn't you want to have a good running game to combine with Josh Allen's unique ability to also run and throw the ball? And we have all those weapons to throw to. Like, why would you not want a complete offense like that? So,
Yeah,
very, very excited, Mike.
I
Very
go back
excited.
to that tough loss at home last year against the Patriots in that I don't know what you want to call it, the 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah,
And even though Josh has the arm to throw the ball through those type of winds, that ball's moving, and we could have really used a strong running game. That's how the Patriots beat us. I mean,
yeah,
they threw the ball
exactly.
3 times
Yeah,
and had that big rushing touchdown, but they ran the ball. And if we are going to have situations like that, it felt like last year we had more weather games than usual.
right.
Having the ability to run if we need to is going to be super important in
Just add
getting
it.
us
Yeah.
over the hurdle and hopefully winning this year's Super Bowl. So, Jake, that's kind of it. I think we've made enough points here to kind of go with our thinking that this is definitely going to be the best offensive line in the past decade. There's a lot to prove over that 2016 team. They've set the bar. So
Yep.
let's see if we can do it this year. And I think, again, there's some question marks on that right side, but your belief in that coach, because I don't know him very well, but your
Yeah.
belief in that coach makes me believe in that what's going to happen on that line. So I'm right there with you. And I think
Absolutely.
Sean said too, he's very, very happy with what he sees on the offensive line. And Sean's a big O line guy.
Yeah, I love it.
He just like you and him are probably the two most excited folks that I see when it comes to talking offensive linemen.
O line and fullbacks, Mike. That's it, baby. In another life, I was probably a lineman or a fullback.
I have to think so.
Yeah.
But that does it. I mean, that
You don't
does
want to
it.
go for another hour?
Jake, we got another show to do.
This
We're
is
gonna
our
go
shortest
back to
show of all
back.
time. Yeah, I'm excited. Stay
We're gonna
tuned.
go back to back with shows. We're gonna go running backs next. So we're probably gonna take a short break for 15 minutes, and then you'll see us go live again. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. Big Al, good to see you out there. And Sean, appreciate the support, man. We got to get you back on the show soon. Any closing thoughts, Jake?
No, I think I'm going to give you a full-time answer here, and I'm going to say that this will be our best offensive line in the last decade. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. This is the best right side we've ever had. We have experience. We have the depth. Let's just go do it. On paper, we look great, Mike, but paper only goes so far.
Yeah, real quick before I say goodbye, I want to answer Big Al's question. He's asking me, am I going to the Bills opener in LA? The plan is yes, Big Al. The plan
Nice.
is yes. The ticket prices are outrageous.
Yeah.
I did have a nice conversation with the wife about how much I might have to spend because not only my 9-year-old wants to go, obviously, but my 17-year-old wants to go. He's usually not the guy who really wants to, sit around and watch the games, but he's like SoFi Stadium, going with dad and my brother, absolutely. So you're talking a big chunk of change there, but we're going to be there, hopefully, to support them. And my first time at SoFi Stadium, I mean, I'm only an hour and a half away from it, so we got to do it. Got to do it.
Gotta
So
do it.
that's the plan, Big Al. Anyhow, thank you so much, everyone. Jake, I'll see you soon. We're going to go live again here shortly, but I hope everyone put in your comments. We'd love to hear what you guys think about what we talked about. Is this the best O line? We want to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much. Go Bills. We'll see
Go
you soon.
Bills, baby. We'll see ya.